Welcome everyone to what is now the second Loose Lugnuts podcast show. I am Jeff Wood, the host of tonight's podcast show. Joining me this evening are my co-host of Bob Wells and Wes Holland. Bob Wells is our media relations and race director, and Wes Holland is an administrator here at Loose Lugnuts. We planned on having a few guests here this evening. Hopefully touch on some interesting topics at any time during this podcast. If you're watching out there, YouTube, or doing it live here, we'll have some audio issues. Let us know. We got guys out there watching to make sure stuff's going right. Still getting the finer points of this streaming stuff down. And we'll get right on into the show this afternoon. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank our sponsors this evening. Uh, they play a big part. They don't do much financially for us, but they help support us and out there. You can look them up. We got links in the descriptions for all the pages of the sponsors. We got racegear.com, Over the Top Paints and Designs, Lugnut TV, obviously, the Wise Guys, Billy Wise's band there in Tampa. Like I said, all the sponsors are out there in YouTube description links. Beyond that, we've had some help. Mr. D'Amico gave us a little bit of help with getting things set up. Some huge help from Dustin Caldwell with helping us get some coding accomplished here shortly. It's going to be a big part of Loose Lug Nuts TV.
Everybody always thinks this stuff is just really easy to do, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, I don't want nothing to do with any of this.
And wiser words could not be said there from Wes Holland as we look to further our broadcasting. You may be looking through the YouTube channel at any point during this broadcast or looking at uh, previous videos. We got content out there. Big thanks to Mr. Bob Wells here this evening for with that content. Uh, Getting those weekly highlight caps up. Each of those highlight reels have a link to Bob's YouTube page with the original content. I just do a little bit of chopping to make them a little bit shorter sometimes. But beyond that, guys, the YouTube channel, we could see some broadcasts here shortly. John and I are mighty close to finishing that. So, but what we're all here for and looking towards is going over our recent races since the last podcast. And December was a short month, but we've really picked it up here the start of the new year. Happy New Year's, everyone. Uh, it's been some interesting racing. We've had some ups, we've had some downs. We're gonna go sort of in order of what we do here. It's our Tuesday series is the road series. Thursdays are trucks. Friday night at Digital Forge Broadcasting, we do our Friday night bumper run series that right now is super lates in its second season. Saturday nights we have double headers. The late model Bush series. Uh, we have what we call our Grand National series. The Xfinity car at mile and a half tracks. So it's a full plate of stuff. So we'll jump right in to it this evening. And who better else to talk about the road series as it kicks off its second go around on Tuesdays right now in the Cadillac. Bob, tell us, uh, heck, we can start all the way back in December when Kent Conley uh, got his first win.
Yeah, Kent was a new guy over here from Lugnuts, and he joined us and joined us with a bang, getting his win there over there in the Road Series. Road Series action's a bit new for loose Lugnut guys. It's something that we've taken on and had some good showings on. It's something that's definitely different. I mean, our heart and soul is always going to be oval racing, but it's nice to turn right every now and then as well. Um, our current season is with the Cadillac. We are taking 1 week off. A lot of folks might have seen some of the posts that I put out there. We have a team, and Loose Lug Nuts, over the top paints, Loose Lug Nuts TV is actually going to be represented in the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona. We're going to be sporting a Mercedes Benz AMG GT3 class. Jamie Vendel, Jake Anderson, of course, Reckham is going to be in there with us. Ted Chief Quinsel, myself, and Nels Clyde. It's pretty much an honor to be part of the team. Kind of threw the idea out there, and I'm pretty honored to be driving with those guys because those guys are damn good racers. It's going to be a fun deal. It's going to be a big challenge to do that deal 24 hours. Vendel, he's top notch on the road courses as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that one. I mean, like you were saying, all those guys are fantastic on road courses, and I think we talked about it in the first podcast. I'm just not a big fan of road courses, but I guess you gotta get outside the box every once in a while. So pretty stoked about driving with sharing a car with those guys, and hopefully don't let anybody down because I want to see those guys get a finish in 24 hours.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the guy that just totaled the car and took it out of the race for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially when you got those style of drivers around you.
yeah. Our most recent race, Jamie won, which was at Lime Rock. He's currently leading the points over there. Like I said, we have the week off. We'll be picking up action up in Canada at Mosport. Of course, using that Cadillac, which is a fun rig to ride. And back to you, Jeff.
Oh no, it's a great hearing because I don't get much time to get in there and on the road courses. Those are my day off type deal. But yeah, but you mentioned the 24 hours. We also got on the PC version. We got Dirt Rally still going on. Embellish a little bit about that.
Yeah, we got 10 guys posted, and Jake Anderson actually dominated the first round. The first round was using the Mini Cooper, and it was a traditional rally in Sweden. I thought I would have the upper hand because it was in the snow, and up here in New Hampshire, that's just normal driving for us. We just brush the shit aside and just carry on with business. But he put down a real dominant time. The next session for that actually opens up. It'll be up there for you guys on Wednesday, which is actually going to be some rallycross action using the Subaru WRX. It's a pretty light schedule. It's one event every 3 weeks. It's for the guys that have the Steam version of Dirt Rally. You can go right in there in the league section and check it out. Every 3 weeks is an event, and then I have events scheduled all the way up until mid-May. So a lot of good stuff over there. A lot of interesting opportunities for all the great drivers over here at Loose Lug Nuts Racing.
Yeah, for those drivers who may have not paid attention to the Facebook post or heck during the last podcast, I think we went over it, but tell them how to get to it. I know John gave away some free copies a while back to the guys. And just tell them how to get through it to through Steam, get signed up to the league version over in there and start running their events.
Yeah, when you're on there, you just got to sign up with RaceNet, and it should connect right up. And right on the main screen there, just click on the leagues box and look for Loose Lug Nuts Racing.
Yeah, well, more exciting stuff to come from Dirt Rally. I got to get in there myself eventually when I do find that exceptionally long free time from not doing stuff at Loose Lug Nuts. But back over to the road series side, even looking all the way back to December during the first Cadillac season, I did run some of those. It was quite fun, challenging at times. I don't think I finished the last two races I was in. Um, it, it took a lot out of me to drive that car, turn it right. Maybe not one of my greatest specialties. However, uh, guys did really well, and I think we had a different winner in the first five races of the that season every week, and that was pretty nice. It showed a variety of people that came out and excelled at different points on the track, and I think uh, gosh, Dode Hoskins, Jamie Vandal. I know I'm forgetting people. Bob could fill me in on who won the first five.
Yeah, I think the comeback of that series is when we ran the road circuit. I think it was at Atlanta, and Joe had a mix up there at the start. There was like the turn in for the road course, and there's another turn in for the Legends course, and he actually turned in on the turn in for the Legends course and ended up on pit road, and he dropped all the way to eighth. And throughout the course of the race, the old 70-year-old Hornet, he made his way all the way back up and ended up winning the race. That was an impressive comeback on a road race. The road racing to me, it's a lot different than oval racing. Oval racing, yeah, in bull series, you race the track, but in oval racing, it's about racing other guys a lot more. Whereas in road racing, you occasionally race other guys, but you're constantly racing the track. And it seems like in road racing, just that one split second of loss of focus, and you're looking for a tow truck.
Yeah, definitely on that. I mean, I'm a line specific kind of guy. I'm not used to going around the edges of the corners on each track, finding each fast entry and exit to the many corners of the road courses themselves. It, it's challenging. It's fun. I hope more guys come out. We started that series on a Wednesday. It's now moved over to, like I said, our Tuesday night deal we got going on. 7 Eastern, 1 hour open qualifying, then a lapped amount event. So it's a challenge, and I hope to see more guys get out there, and hopefully any of them can get out there and challenge who seems to be dominating the current Road Series schedule, and Jamie Vandal taking up the first two wins.
Yeah, there's some stout drivers over there, man. I'm on the same track as you, Jeff. It's just I race 3 times a week and it still seems like it's too much, but I still have to squeeze, all those wonderful races we have over here in during the week. So yeah, I mean, if I had the time, I'd probably be over there getting my butt whooped by Jamie and all them guys over there.
And you mentioned Kent, and uh, he got that road win, but looking a little bit further back, and this one's going to get Wes kind of wound up because he wasn't able to squeeze enough fuel out of his car that night with our closest finish in history. Kent, both those guys ran out of gas. I got a great highlight of it. Coasting across the line, Kent barely got him at the line at Auto Club, and the truck. I don't know if you remember that one, Wes, too much.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. I remember all those ones that come down close like that. But I mean it was a good race. It's just you can lose them as easy as you can win them, and Ken just had the strategy that night. So I mean, hats off to him. It was a really close finish, and it was fun to finish that close.
Yeah, when I watched the replay, I mean, both you guys were just coasting, and he bucked, I think, one more time, and that was the whole difference at the stripe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looking back through the stats, we got a guy out there in YouTube right now, Donald King. If he even can remember the time of the Silver Crown series, I think it was Michigan. Good drafting track for that car. Uh, I think y'all finished what at the time was the closest uh, victory in league history. I don't think Donald King was on the good end of that one, but
Yeah, I
You
think I
you
remember that one. That that's where you win them as easy as you lose them. And yeah, I think I perspired in that one. I think it was like 0.009 seconds or something like that at the line, but it came down to the same way. I think Don King ran out of fuel coming out of four, and I was probably on the backstretch when he was running out, and had just got there in time to get him at the line, and that was super close. I didn't. Nobody knew who won until we went over and looked over at the race results. So it was crazy finish, and that's pretty much identical to what happened in that race over there, Auto Club.
yeah, like Wes said, even just looking at the significance of the Donald King West Michigan Silver Crown race, as close as that one was, the Kent Conley win over Wes Holland at Auto Club in that fuel strategy game was even closer, and is now the closest margin of uh, victory for anyone in loose lug nuts. So congratulations to Kent Conley for taking that stat away from the stat hog himself.
Yeah, definitely. Congrats on that. It was great.
We moved on from I think uh, Auto Club. We went over to Michigan, or maybe it was before that. John Hastings uh, pitted like twice at Michigan in the Truck Series, and then or that may have been the Xfinity
Yeah,
Series.
it was the Xfinity Series. Yep,
Oh, my
that was our
bad. But
Saturday night deal.
yeah, it was during the same week set of races that happened. That there was these fuel strategy games, and my bad for setting up the laps that way, but so it worked.
Yeah, it turned into really good races, and I'd rather see him play out in a fuel strategy, honestly. As much as I don't like losing them by fuel strategy, I mean, it throws a whole nother curveball into the race.
I mean,
Yeah,
out.
it sure does. And Hastings, he's really good at figuring that strategy out. I like I just said this the other day. When you see John Pitt, you get a rough idea of probably what to do strategy wise because he usually nails that stuff pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, the fuel strategy game was really on that week. A non-fuel strategy track. I think it was either right before we went on our little Christmas break. We went to Five Flags in the truck. The Eldora replacement for iRacing at the moment for that series, and it was interesting, loose, to say the least. And I mean, West came out with a victory, but some guys in there showed some really great speed. Wayne Galloway, Dustin Covington had a handle on it for a little bit till he lost it. Heck, I lost it during one portion of the race.
Yeah, Five Flags. That place is. I don't know if the trucks belong there or not.
Yeah, it was a handful. Definitely, it was a lot of guys that were, especially out of four, getting loose. Uh, you brought up Dustin. I just want to give Dustin a shout out tonight. He's recovering. He had a pretty hefty surgery there. He had a bone spur and ended up turning it into getting a whole rotator cuff. We won't be seeing him on the track for a little while, but we do miss him on the track. And just a huge shout out to one of our buddies there.
Yeah, but Five Flags that turned out to be a pretty exciting finish. I think it came down to me and Jeff banging bumpers and doors and everything there at the end, trying to get the win. He definitely had the fastest truck that night. Just I think I squeaked one out by hogging up a lane that he wanted, but it turned out to be a good finish. It was heavy on the cautions, but it was definitely still a good race.
Yeah, it was good short track racing.
Yeah, speaking of not just maybe the short tracks, but a guy that finished third at Five Flags that night, who had a great start to December in the month of December within loose lug nuts. Maybe looking over at a couple other leagues, he had a really good start there too, and that was Chief himself, Ted Quinsel. He had a little bit of fall off since then, but just looking at where he's finished when he has finished, it's gotten a lot better. It's like he's become more comfortable around our core group of drivers that we have.
Yeah, and he came off a win at Milwaukee, right, in the Busch Series a week prior to that third finish in the truck at Five Flags.
Yeah, he sure did. And he nailed it. He owned Milwaukee in the Busch Late Model Series that night. There was nobody had anything for him.
Yeah, I know he definitely dominated on the flat track of Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's I like seeing those guys show their improvement. I know Ted had some frustrating moments recently, some with others. I mean, last night was frustrating as all get out, but we move on and we hopefully forget and try to get over situations like that. But
Jason, I think some of the fans on YouTube actually want to listen to you tonight, Jeff. They're asking to have you turn up your mic just a little squeak there.
yeah, I'm seeing it.
Most of us in TeamSpeak turn him down. We don't want to listen to him while we're driving, though.
Yeah, I communicate probably a little bit too much over TeamSpeak between myself, Bob, and John. But you know, moving on from that, you know, Wes currently leading the points over there in the truck series, and which brings me to an interesting factor that we've been throwing around here in Loose Lug Nuts is for the next series because we're seeing drop offs and driver participation, which is natural in any points league race, and you get dismayed with the content of it, or you find yourself hopelessly far behind. We hope you don't look at it like that, but we want you to, oh shoot, I'm one away from a top 10 points, or I'm one away from top 5. Let me see what I can do. I would love for people to look at it that way rather than, damn, I'm not first place. But to the point, we're looking at adding drop races within the Danalisa scoring system for the next series we post up. So when you see Wes get out to that huge gap, and then all of a sudden you get to the drop race content, and Wes has 4 bad races, but you only have 2 bad races, you may find yourself in better points contention, and I think it will help maybe keep some of the drivers that find themselves, let down by a bad race or having to miss a week because of, real life responsibilities.
Yeah, 10-4 on that. And honestly, I don't think that I've ever gotten out into a huge point lead. I think the only really big point lead I have right now is right around the truck series or something we have on Friday or I think it's Saturday. Either the Thursday or Saturday series, but every other series we've ever had, it's come down to either 3 or 4 points between me and second, third, fourth. That last super late model series came down to a wire too. So it's not like I can jump out to a big lead. Something always happens. I beat myself. These other guys beat me. It's been close finishes in championship points recently.
Yeah, I think the having that drop race would be nice because most of us do care about our points position, but we do run Friday and Saturday night, and there's a lot of things in life that go on those nights. So you come back, if you miss one, in our current format, it's just like, well, I'm not gonna do anything in the points. I'm gonna do something else that or whatever. And now you have that cushion, or you have that bad race, you bad pit stop or whatever, and you get a penalty or and then lose a bunch of spots, and it doesn't work out for you that night. That's your drop race, So that's going to be a good system. Looking forward to seeing that implemented.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a provisional deal, is what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, or like I think it's a mulligan in golf. I don't know. I
Got
think
you.
that's what they call it in that game.
Yeah, so we're hearing that, possible drop for future racing events, give those drivers some more time in there and get, uh, some off nights if need be. But, we just talked about maybe Wes getting over into some points, but, you know, Nick Reynolds, through either the best situation possible, hard racing, right moment at the right spot. Really capitalized early in our Friday night Loose Lugnuts racing series. The bump and run super late models, uh, broadcasted by Digital Forge Broadcasting on YouTube. But he had that huge point lead going into Dover. Won two straight races. Was really in a West kind of fashion, taking those events. And I think he finished last at Dover due to some incidents there. But that points race alone is the strongest one I've seen in a while. And Wes isn't winning everything.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with Nick this last week about that deal, and he just thought it was going to be a better deal not to qualify in that race. I guess he thought it was going to be guys getting into trouble in front of him, so he didn't. He just wanted to roll around the back, and it turned out. I think what we go 80 laps or something like that right off the bat. No caution. He got strung and he got strung out, and he got stuck far behind, and then got collected in some stuff, and that's what that's what ruined his night for him. So
Yeah, you just never had the track position, and sometimes that's it, and then it didn't work out for him.
yeah, that track is super tough to pass at, and we had we had a good field on our hands that night, and he just couldn't make it back to the front. And I've been in those positions before, so I know what he was feeling like, not wanting to qualify, not wanting to get stuck up in something up front, and end his night early, but ended up playing out the same factor at the end.
Yeah, you take some of those risks sometimes. When you're looking at points, maybe more than you should in Nick's case for that situation. But it didn't work for him. He came back with a better finish at Iowa. I think finished seventh or sixth around there. But looking all the way back to Milwaukee on the Friday nights, uh, Jason Covington, up until the caution breeds caution, so he had the strongest car that night. Uh, and heck, the Southeast guys have been starting to show up for Friday nights, running real well. And another guy that has finished literally, if not in the top five, he's finished sixth place in all three races that he showed and entered into the top 10 in points for those finishes was Mark Jackson during those events.
Yeah, that's a KMA guy over there, and he came over and ran with us, and he showed that he's pretty strong on all the tracks we run. He's been a real good competitor the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Mark's a real good guy. I run with him over there in the plate races and stuff quite a bit. Not so much on the stuff that we do, but he surprised me. He's real good behind the wheel on this other non-plate stuff. It's good to have him over here.
Yeah, anyone that comes out, hell, we had Bob's gonna correct me if I say it wrong. Uh, Dalton, is it Dalton?
Yeah, Stalton Collins, he got that win the other night. He was fast as a spotted bear right there too. We had a mess that night too, and with the iRacing glitching out, we had to one of the only times that we'll actually throw a manual caution. We had to do a bunch of them trying to get the lineup right and everything. It was almost like that NASCAR race when they had all the scoring messed up and couldn't get the lineups right.
Yeah, we persevered through that one, and I think Dalton was the one that caught the short end of that stick and ended up restarting like outside the top 10 and drove his way back through the field and ended up bringing back the victory on that last late caution that we had, that restart.
Yeah, a heck of a night there. I feel bad for those people that were watching. I think Dustin Caldwell, our broadcaster on that night, did a great job of having commercials readily available to go to as we suffered through some iRacing inconvenience, as we'll call it, the red flag situation. But if I could have gave everyone their exact spot back, if the administrative controls allowed me to do that, I would have. But all I could do was get everyone back on the lead lap and give laps back where best awarded before we went back to normal sized racing. But we got through it. It was a heck of a finish. A guy in his first race, a former pro iRacing NIS driver. So he comes in there, puts on a good show. We hope to see him next week. Um, he'd he'd be a great addition to the Friday night deal or any of our racing really. If he comes out uh, and runs hard, like I said, we always welcome people to come out and try their luck, see if they fit into the group and they can run strong and clean. That's what we're looking for. But we touched on a little bit of some of the other stuff and talking about the series. We got our Saturday Bush series. That really emulates what we have on Friday nights. I'm currently in the process of cooking up a schedule to match the next Friday schedule. Hopefully those schedules will be out soon. But you know, we got on about Ted was pretty dominant at Milwaukee. We've seen a lot of flat tracks. Dover wasn't so continuous with getting off of turn four in those cars. Uh, heck, we just ran Iowa. I think Travis Zudema and Ted Quinzel had a great battle for third. I watched from the sidelines on that one. That was extremely exciting. Uh, Jeffrey Belt, uh, a rookie himself, almost powered back as Wes ate up his tires in the later laps of that Iowa Busch Series late model race. It was a pretty exciting race to say the least. A lot of battles in the back. Heck, from Bob and Craig and Bob and John Hastings, Craig Covington and Robert Mattis, and heck, it was all over the field that night.
Yeah, those Bush Series races lately, man, they've been putting on some pretty good shows, and me and you put starting in the back in most of those races. Uh, it gives some of those guys that you're talking about a chance to get up there and run for the lead and try to track down a win. It's hard to come from the back, so it gives those guys a chance to learn what they got to do when they're up front.
And saying that, it's not like we're the best for starting in the back. No, the way Wes and I look at that is that if you look at the amount of time we put in individually with setting up races or whatnot, uh, we seem to be 1-2 a lot, and that can get boring, and you may not learn as much running 6 seconds behind. But if you're the one leading the pack and you find out something different that works better for you because you got the clean air and you can adjust better that way or something in that nature, I think it helps the drivers itself uh, to better advance their skills uh, in a speaking term.
Yeah, I feel everything you're saying. It's not about us just trying to run through the field and see how fast we could pass stuff or pass drivers. It's letting those guys get a chance to figure out what we do or how we pass or how they can race us. It's just all about track time is what all these extra series we have going on. It's about letting these guys have some time to race around other fast guys and get some track time.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it's all about there, guys. We'll go quickly. We didn't have a lot of time in the Grand National Series because the breaks for the holidays fell and whatnot, but we ended up on two of the roughest tracks possible. I think I could have scheduled for it was frickin' the Glen and Dega. Dega was last night, and boy, we're. I know Wes had just a grand old time at the Glen.
Oh yeah, gosh, man, you put me on road courses. It's not the mixture. I beat myself more than often. It's a lot easier to recover from mistakes on oval tracks. It's not so easy to recover from mistakes on road courses. So yeah, I had my hands full that night, and it didn't turn out all that great for me.
Yeah, you didn't do so well there, but you did get the win at the Glen and the truck. So I'm not gonna don't let you sell yourself short on the road courses, there, buddy. and
No, I mean I like them, but it's just like I said, when it's time to beat myself, like that's where the best chance comes is the dang road courses, and I definitely beat myself up in the Xfinity car, and I think that was Keith Haney that won that one. He did a great job, and he raced me hard. I tried racing him hard back, and just I used up too much of my car on that track.
yeah, it's easy to do. You use a lot of, just racing by yourself on a road course. But when you start to race somebody, overdrive this corner and that corner, overheat the tires and everything else, the next thing you know, you just got a wore out piece of junk you're trying to run with.
Yeah, there's a lot more grass that I can try to drive tires through there too. I think that was a big deal for me. I clipped the grass coming through the S's, and that's one of the fastest parts of the track. So I clipped the grass and seen wall fence, and I was done.
Yep.
Heck, even last night, Dega was itself and its own challenges. I mean, Loose Lugnuts is in no way a super speedway racing team. I went through the next schedule of trucks and Xfinity cars and removed that track. We'll be seeing Daytona and onage of the 500 coming up during our current schedule, so that will be still on it. However, we'll have to. I think Bob recommended a good one in Pocono. So, just looking at Dega itself, even last night, if those guys are listening and whatnot, that, you know, some moves were made. Some people are angry about the moves. Understandable. You, you get used to fighting for position at a certain race event or level, and it doesn't translate well over to our calm collective guys that don't really I wouldn't say like contact, but that maybe get rubbed the wrong way from guys that they don't see that often. So you know uh, when looking at that situation for those people that may be listening or looking towards loose lug nuts, that we hope that when you do come in, that you will try to come in with the mindset of getting towards working each lap as you advance through the field, and not just diving in under. And even if you're in a team, so to say, not knocking teams, we're a team in loose lug nuts. Uh, the we 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 want everyone to coalesce. We want everyone to work together. And if you do happen to come in during that one race, and that's the only race you can race that week, and you don't happen to make it next week, you got to be mindful of people out there that are running the points as uh, we're on the eclipse of this current season.
Yeah, that I mean, John just brought up a good point in the chat over there, and like you said, the points. I mean, these guys they show up every single week. They're out there trying to win a championship or finish in the top three or top five, and we of course we welcome new guys to come along. We just want them to understand that there are points battles going on, and when you come mid season, every finishing spot turns into being a big points deal for some of these guys. So just remember that when you're new guys, you come in, just be respectful of the guys that are racing for points.
Yep, good old restrictor plate racing. You see it in the real world of racing too. Generally, there's only one guy that leaves the track happy, and he has the trophy. Doesn't take much to make a whole lot happen when you're
Yeah,
restrictor plate racing.
they definitely don't bring out the niceness in people at all. You're just too crowded on the track. It's everybody's way too close to each other, and you're all running the same speed. There's no, you can't get away from anybody unless you drop, a half a second off the pack. So it's just like short track racing. I mean, it seems like every time you're at a short track, you're on top of somebody else. So it doesn't bring the niceness out, and it makes for a lot of impatient guys, and that's why we don't see a lot of it over here. It's nice to go there every once in a while. Still, they're on the road course level for me. I'm not a fan of them anymore.
Yeah, well put.
Yep. So anyone listening out there, not a fan. Not too many future super speedway events, unless you count Auto Club or Pocono into the super speedway category. But Daytona will, like I said, be coming up. Dega's been taken off the next schedule. Pocono added it in its place, so hopefully that replacement track will add more of a competition to the style of racing we like to see inside of Loose Lugnuts. But if you tuned in early enough, we put together an intro here. Uh, when I say we, I mean John. Uh, put together the intro. It showed our guest tonight. We'll go ahead and bring those guys in at this moment right now. Joining us up here, and what is usually his booth is the announcer guy, Dustin Caldwell from Digital Forge Broadcasting, and a driver from Southeast Motorsports, Mitchell Reeves. Welcome, fellas.
What's going on,
How we
guys?
doing?
Thank you.
Hey guys.
Well, we'll go ahead and dive right on into it. It went a little bit longer than what I told you it would, but we'll go ahead and get rolling with you here, Mitch. I know we went over some stuff earlier, but you know, I spent a lot of time my younger years at the drag strip, and I'm a big fan of drag racing. It's over in 5 to 10 seconds, depending on what you're running, and it's from a safety standpoint of my view, it's probably the most exciting racing you can get out there, other than some sprint cars. But go ahead and tell the people out there that what you drive. You mentioned to me that you race in the Foot Brake Series, the Super Pro. You're currently running a '97 Camaro as your full-time ride, breaking down a '72 Chevelle. Uh, eh, go forth and talk about a little bit about your drag racing you got going on.
Yeah, we've. I mean, ever since I'm 20 years old now, and I remember when I was 8 years old, I just had drawers and drawers of Hot Wheels, and all I would do was just think about having one of those real things one day. And yeah, we've been actually fully drag racing for 2 years. If I knew I was going to be so addicted to it, I probably would have started it way sooner, and just never worked out that way. But we this last year was our first year having a real race car. We had a '72 Chevelle, and it just kind of took off when we had some issues with it this year. And great guy named Buddy Smith, older gentleman, said, "Hey, just come drive my car for a weekend, and just have fun with it." And we were fortunate enough to win in it. And after that, it's just kind of exploded this year. It's been a lot of fun. I definitely think, you know, for me to, people always talk about living your dreams, and I know a lot of people don't think drag racing is that big of a deal, but to me, that is my dream. And to be able to live your dream at 20 years old, and you have so much more of your life, hopefully you're fortunate to have. It's a pretty awesome deal. My first ever race in a street car. Remember it to the day, May 27th, 2015. I won money in it, and going up there and picking up $50 and walking back, I said, "Yep, my life's over. This is going to be what I do for the rest of it." And my favorite saying in life now is, and this comes with, I think, a lot of racers that have been in this situation, is you've never been so happy to be broke in your life. And that is definitely a true saying for sure.
I mean, we got a fellow drag racer. I mean, the cops don't think he's a drag racer, but Wes thinks himself as a drag racer.
Oh, here we go. I have a lot less cylinders, and I've never raced anybody on a track, so
Yeah, it's definitely it's a little different. A lot of things. I know some people have heard the show Street Outlaws. There's a lot of stuff in that show that's staged. But one thing a lot of people don't realize is street racing a lot of people like street racing just because of the adrenaline rush, but you know, nowadays there's people that think they can put these 1,200, 2,000 horsepower cars on the streets and they're just going to go straight. That's not how it goes. You go on unprepped roads, and that's the thing that drag racing really brings is it takes that that the the risk of being seriously injured and stuff like that really away from it, because there's always an ambulance there and it's always on standby. But I definitely think that if anybody is interested in just going fast, and trying to do it safe, drag strip, you can't beat that. If you were to have a wreck, unfortunately, you're going to have somebody on you within less than 30 seconds, and it's a lot of there's a lot of safety to it. Unfortunately, and I'm guilty of it. I probably don't take all the safety regulations I should, but as you go faster and when you see people that get hurt or worse, you kind of take a step back and be like, how much do I really want to live on the edge? Do you want to be comfortable or do you want to be safe? And that's kind of the way I've always looked at that.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to put at it.
And you guys, it's not just stand on the gas, drive it to the other end. You guys, there's a lot of work going on behind the wheel.
Oh, yeah.
From end to end.
Yeah, and that's what kind of brings the fun part to that racing I do. It's not all about getting there first. It's when we get ready to go, we have a time on our car that we have guessed what we're going to run, and there's a lot of math that goes involved in that. It's not like, well, if you get to the finish line first, you're going to win. That's not what it's about. And if anybody's watched any of my in-car videos, you'll see me womping the throttle and slamming the brakes at the end, because the way I've always looked at it is you want to be the first to cross, but in the racing you want to be, everybody always sees these close races on iRacing like 0.007, 0.002. In our racing, that's how much you want to win every race by, because there's a good chance you'll be above your time and you'll still win. So it's a lot of fun into it, and it's if anybody ever has any questions about it, please ask me. I will. If it's iRacing or anything, if it's got something to do with a motor and a steering wheel and you can drive it fast, I'm always down to talk about it.
I'm gonna have to get your number before this one's over.
Yeah, Wes wants to know how to go fast without getting tickets.
Either that or a lawyer. If you got a good lawyer, I can deal
Oh
with.
yeah, that's number one down here. You don't have to worry about that.
So we know you're badass in a straight line car, but we also know you're super quick on iRacing, and we've definitely seen what you've done on here. Let us know what you've been doing, or where you came from to come to iRacing.
Well, when I was about 15 years old, 16 years old, I started. I used to actually do NASCAR 09 on PS3. And we did nothing but super speedways. Nothing. We'd do 188 laps at Talladega with no cautions and just let it eat. And that was kind of when it started. And then when that faded away, I really started realizing, maybe iRacing something reachable. And I had a steering wheel, just a little driving force, didn't even only turn 90 degrees, didn't have any force feedback, and we started off doing street stocks and at the rookie class, and it just kind of took off from there. And man, it's been a lot of fun. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years. We've I've made a lot of great friends over this whole entire time. We've actually got a team now, Southeast Motorsports. It's been around longer than a lot of people think. Me and Nick Reynolds really started that about 1.5 years ago, and then about 6 months from here, I actually took a little step away from it and just kind of had some real life stuff going on, and we came back, and it has just really turned into a big thing. And it's amazing what 6 months away from iRacing, all the upgrades and the updates and just everything they've improved on. I mean, who would have thought we'd be in probably 3 months from now we're going to be dirt racing? I mean, that's just crazy to me. But it's been really cool. When my first ever paint scheme was from Over the Top Paints and Design, John Hedrick. It was an Auburn truck that it looked like it was spray painted and thrown stickers on it, but I thought it was so freaking cool because it had my name on it. It was the coolest thing ever. And man, now the cars that he brings out of his paint shop they're second to none. It's pretty awesome. And I'm definitely interested to see, how iRacing adapts to this dirt. I really hope for them and for all the people that are paying their good money to do it, it's worth it. I really think it will. I've seen a lot of stuff, but I think just like a lot of people here, we're just ready to get it. We're ready to start yanking on that wheel and killing a whole bunch of G27s just a dirt race. So
I'm ready for that too. I'm on the same page as you there.
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on over to our other guest here, being Mr. Quiet in the background. Our Friday night broadcaster, Digital Forge Broadcasting. Links are in the description to his website. You can find through our other videos that we got links for his website and to his YouTube page there. So if you get the chance, go check out his videos, see his upcoming live broadcast he's got scheduled. But Dustin, I mean, a lot of guys know you here in Loose Lugnuts. Uh, but for the occasional guy that may stumble through this podcast, or the person out there that doesn't really get to watch your videos on Friday nights because that's their night off to spend with family, go on and tell us about what you got coming up. What what type of races you want to broadcast, things in that nature, man.
Sure. Basically, right now, as you know, I do the super late models on Friday nights. Pretty much working towards a 6 night a week schedule until racing season starts. Currently, got about Wednesdays and Thursdays open. Going to start up on Thursdays. For the most part, it's Monday nights, sprint car nights with the JSRL 360 League, doing a little bit of variety of that. Just a quick note about Digital Forge. What I do is I'm trying to niche myself as the premier short track announcer for iRacing. A lot of drivers, a lot of people out there, other broadcasters, Race Spot, LSR TV, and such, cover both road and race, like NASCAR style racing, IndyCar style racing. Myself feel that the best racing to be had is on short tracks. That's my personal opinion. So for the most part, that's where I've niched myself. Being a one man show, I got a lot to work on with at during a broadcast. So for the most part, essentially just focus on short tracks. So like Monday nights, we got sprint cars. They take the 410 sprint and add a little bit of weight to it to bring it down to a 360 style sprint. Been really interesting with that. Dealing in sprint cars, they have legends as well. And it's an action packed night for a Monday night. Tuesday nights got a modified tour with the Can-Am tour. It's their second iteration of doing wheeling modified tour cars. They haven't done that before. They primarily run like a B car style race and long season. So it's really neat that they're trying that, and I'm being happy to be able to cover that for them. Wednesday nights, pretty much my off night. Thursdays, I'll be starting back up with the Sim Auto Racing Association, Sarah, doing their super late models. I think they're going to come back with a new sponsor this year for that series. So definitely stay tuned for that. And of course, Friday nights here, really doing the super late models for the Bump and Run Friday night series. Saturdays is the Cars Eastward Tour, folks. And I tell you what, if you actually get out on the East Coast in the Mid Atlantic area and you're watching super late models, late model stocks, the part of the Cars Tour, what's really neat with that is they got partnered up with a league that knows the Cars Tours admins, and they actually sponsored this tour. They broadcast our races not only on all my normal means of broadcasting, but also on Cars Tour TV, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Dustin, that is a full plate to say the least. We're looking at doing 2 nights ourselves, um, and it that in itself seems mind-boggling. Um, Getting prepared for it, making sure everything is in order. It, just looking at our Friday night broadcast that you do for us, it's really top of the line, and we really do thank you for it. It especially through that struggle of the last race with the quote unquote red flag. It was very nice to see. You had that option to go to a commercial after commercial. You had that in your inventory, and you know some guys that just willy nilly get out there and want to broadcast. They they don't think about those types of things that might pop up, and I think you've done a great amount of research into your own product that you want to put out to see it evolve into what it is. And when I say evolve, looking all the way back to the very beginning of Digital Forge Broadcasting, it was on Friday nights of Loose Lug Nut Racing.
Right. Guys were the my guinea pig league, if you will. Learned a lot of things, especially trying to do it as a one man show. Like understanding where the cautions are. What it takes to actually fully do a broadcast, because most broadcasts you see out there will have a minimum of at least 2 to 3 people in the broadcast. Somebody controlling the cameras, watching the streams, somebody spotting for incidents, things like that, or any good battles going on. I mean, you get up to like GSRC, LSR TV, and Race Spot, and all those guys. That's a full team. I mean, they got like 4 to 5 people out there contributing to the announcers, let alone having the 2 announcers. So for just me doing it all and broadcasting across all the mediums that I do, and trying to catch it, I know I'm not perfect. I'm not going to catch every single caution that comes out there. So sometimes I gotta play it off the top of my head, like, oh, there's a debris caution or things like that, just because a caution can happen so quick that triggers iRacing's race control to say, hey, throw the yellow. That I gotta really think on my feet, and if I'm not able to capture that because it happens so quickly, then we just throw something out there like it was a debris caution, things like that, to try to simulate something you'd find a Saturday night at your local short track.
Yeah, and Dustin's come a long way with all this too. I don't know if anybody knows your history. I've listened to the podcast you did with I forget what the name of the radio was, but you talked about how you've never done any of this before until what, about a year or two ago?
Yeah, I didn't. To be honest with you, and this may come a shocker to most listening. Wasn't big into racing per se. I always liked it and admired it. Wasn't really big into it until about February. We'll go back to February 2015, when I saw iRacing through Steam, and I was like, you know what? It seems like it'd be a fun little thing to go, and I'm going to invest into this. Went out and got me a Logitech G27 wheel, and really wanted. I was like, I'm gonna make fun and have fun of this, not just really enjoy this and make some additional fun in my life. So went and did that, and then for the most part, like most things in my life, my mouth gets me into trouble sometimes. Got into a race one night, and it was a street stock race, and I get in there and I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to USA International Speedway. And then out of the blue, someone said, hey, you should come announce for us. And that kind of took off my whole announcing career for the most part. And it's pretty much part. And then just wanted to really set myself apart and do things that I had ambitions towards. So in the midst of all that, found my way to my local short track, Columbus Motor Speedway. And I tell you, it was one of the most, like Mitchell was talking about with drag racing, the emotions that can really flow through a person during a race. I just never forget it. It's one of those things that define me as a human being. Coming up to the turn 4 stands and watching the modifieds come off the turn 4, and just watching every hair on my arm stand up, and just feel that rush of excitement just as they were powering to their start of their race. And something I'll never forget. And at that point in time, I think it defined me as a human being, saying this is what I'm about. This is what I'm going to do. And pretty much since then, for the last year and a half, going on 2 years, I've kind of devoted, every waking moment that I've had into perfecting Digital Forge broadcasting and making it a great, not only announcing thing, but as well as a place for people to come enjoy racing and make friendships and whatnot. Hence the word forge in it.
Yeah, it's definitely come a long way for you too. I mean, it's excellent. Going back and listening to the broadcast and watching, all the cameras and stuff you got going on. Your whole broadcast feed is always excellent.
Something I will say about Dustin too, because when he first started, I mean, nobody knew him from Steve Urkel or anybody in iRacing. But one thing that I've always thought that was crazy about him, and I think he'll agree with this, is the amount of development he's done in 1 year. Me and him had a long talk, what was it, Dustin, about 3 months ago, just how far do you come in a year? And you almost have to step back and ask yourself, and this is kind of a question, I mean, moving forward 2 or 3 years, I mean, what are your goals?
Yeah, definitely. It's when you reach a certain point, you got to kind of step back and evaluate. Say, I've gotten a lot of success really quick, but how can I keep pushing that bar further? What can I keep doing to keep things interesting? not really trying to plane off, but continue to push for success. And one of the additions that I've had with that is by going out to the Forge website, really designing a really nice, beautiful looking website that offers a load of information. But not only that, race articles. Places where like you would read on sites like Speed 51 or some of these other sites out there that you can really get a lot of information about races and all the race broadcasts that I do. For the most part, will get a race article following within a couple days. I'll get it up there and talking about that race. So it's one additional piece of things that I do for the broadcasting side of it that'll complement a league as well. It gives it more the validity of something you would find in a Saturday night race. The other things I've explored doing is single car qualifying. There's not a lot of broadcasters out there, if any, that I've seen that covers pretty much single car qualifying with leagues. It's one thing I really enjoy to do. I believe it gives every driver out on the field the opportunity to be broadcasted. Because sometimes, the guys up in the top 10 are really going to see camera time, especially if there's good battles going on. That's one thing I focus is showing a lot of the battles. So, some of the people outside the top 10, will get viewed when they have some really great battles. And I know, kind of like the Friday night broadcast, West, much way up in front of the field, didn't get a lot of camera time leading in that respect because I try to cover the battle. It's like we want to be able to showcase people fighting, digging, getting through the field, as well as those who do the success, like Wes getting a lot of camera time up there too as well. I'm just gonna poke fun at him, but
It's all right. Burnouts are good enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. As long as you get my burnout, I'm good.
right. So yeah, that's the key thing is just really showcasing the whole field, and sometimes you don't ever have the opportunity to get everybody on a race. That's one of the reasons why I like going to the single car qualifying format to just showcase, hey, this is who the driver is. This is a beautiful job of the paint scheme that's been done, hopefully by over the top paints and designs, uh, and also their sponsors and them for them to be able to recognize and show their family and friends, hey, look, this is what I come out and do. This is my hobby. I mean, everybody out there, this is a good, hardworking hobby, and a lot can go into sim racing. Not quite as much as you would find in real racing per se, but still, you want to recognize the people and their efforts and have them give an opportunity to recognize those who help them be able to do what they do and love.
Yeah, and it gives all these drivers that run with us and run with all your other leagues. It gives them a chance to, they're driving for something else. I mean, if they can't win or they're just trying to shoot to be up there to get an interview, it makes the racing more fun on here.
Definitely, and it's always exciting, to watch the stories. And I keep poking at the word Forge and Digital Forge, but really that's why I chose the name Digital Forge. I mean, we're racing digitally week in and week out, but we're also forging not only stories but profiles as well. And that's the thing. Like Wes, with you being called Wreckham Wes, learned a lot of better racecraft over the years. I know you were always like a really aggressive driver early on, not
Yeah, I
intentionally
guess
to
I
wreck
earned that
people.
name. I
Right.
earned that name, right?
Right, exactly. And it's not like you're intentionally wrecking people, but just through the facts of being, new to it and really enjoying racing and being aggressive, you got to dub the nickname Wreckham West. But I think Scott from KMA pointed out one point in time, we got to call him Winham West now, winning a lot. So it's really neat to see that. I know Bad Bob Wells. I don't even know Bob. How did you get the name Bad in there? That's one thing I always question. I as a broadcaster, I get to see a lot of nicknames, and it always plagues me. I'm like, how do these people get these nicknames? And I mean, with Wes, it was pretty simple. I got to see that, but with you, Bob, like, how did you get the nickname Bad Bob?
I'm not even sure, but it's a 30-year-old nickname that some lifelong friends gave me, and it's just stuck over the years. So when I came to iRacing and I was doing some modified racing, and if you're driving modified, you got to have a nickname. So I had to pick up the Bad Bob thing, and it's just stuck.
It's always really interesting too, because I'll tell you, as a broadcaster, you got to kind of defend what you call these people. Some people don't know they have nicknames, or sometimes through scenarios that a broadcaster will create a nickname for somebody. And I've had people come up and ask me like, why is this guy Bad Bob? He seems like a really nice guy and he's a good driver. Where's the bad come into play? And I mean, for the younger crowd, I know for the older crowd out there, they know when somebody's a bad, they're like really cool, that kind of slang terminology. But for the younger kids, when they hear the word bad, they think you're terrible. but that doesn't describe you at all. I've watched that 38 car really move through the field and do some good things out there on the track. So, you know, it's really neat to see the guys who get their nicknames. I mean, Revis
Here we
over
go.
there. We always
Here
joke with
we
him.
go.
Somebody mispronounced his name once, Revis, and through joking around, we call him the Tortuga. It's Spanish for tortoise. And it's just one of those things, and that's the kind of things I talk about when I talk about Forge. You know, really forging friendships, relationships, stories with people. Because I mean, anybody will tell you out in the racing community, it's a brotherhood. You know, and I say brotherhood in the terms of everybody, well, not just necessarily guys. I mean, there's a lot of girls I'm starting to see more and more in iRacing, which is awesome. You know, really getting to see a diversity of amongst people, and I think it's one of the coolest things that we all come together and enjoy doing what we do. And I'm I'm the storyteller of all that to people. You know, I'm the one that translates that to the layman terms for the viewers out there, and it's just really exciting to be able to do that.
And something I'll add on to that, everybody talks about family, but the thing that even in iRacing terms, I mean, the Team Southeast, I mean, we are a racing family, and it's really cool. I mean, everybody talks about, there's sometimes that you just don't have anybody to talk to, but it's really cool. I mean, there's, it's crazy. Me and Dustin were talking about, I feel like one day we're all gonna meet up at Bristol and go. But a racing family to me, and there's a lot of ways, it's almost better than real family because when you have that, when you share that, it's very hard to overcome or beat that bond you have with some people. And like me and Dustin, there's just things that you can just almost me and him could probably talk for 2.5 hours about just random stuff about how he has problems fixing his RX-8 and all that, but we're not going to get into that. But I mean, just stuff like that, and it's really cool to be part of racing families on a real side, and then even iRacing. I mean, it's just really cool to see what kind of friendships and bonds that you get, and it's just only been 2 years. There's so much more to come, so it'll be really interesting to see how much more goes with it.
Yeah, that's very well said. I mean, I think, being in the league setting, you look forward to not only racing, but just getting on, talking with these guys. I mean, there have been times we've hung out on TeamSpeak, for an hour, hour and a half watching UFC fights together, just, talking and stuff and having a lot of good fun.
Yeah, you definitely gained some friendships on this stuff. I've met a lot of dudes. Even back when I was on console gaming, that's where I met John and half the guys I race with now. So, I mean, racing doesn't just stem from a racetrack. I mean, all this digital stuff nowadays we got where you can race online and you make some really good friends. And I've met a lot of dudes from this. I've gone and met up with them, and a couple of them are truck drivers I've met in real life. So, I mean, that's a good place to be. So it definitely is a racing family.
Yeah, guys.
Oh,
We really went into there with Dustin and Mitch. And continue. I want them to join in on our next segment here. We like to bring up going ons and iRacing. Mitch touched on the dirt. God, are we waiting for dirt? Hearing or reading, I should say, the post from one of the developers on dirt saying he can't get the 410 around the track long enough to make a lap. I question sometimes their ability to get us the dirt as quickly as they can and as accurately. But you know, uh, just we'll go through the dirt. I mean, I know Dustin's gonna be looking for the short tracks. Uh, I don't think you can't really find not a short track outside of maybe Eldora and Knoxville and maybe heck all the way down south and into Volusia. So I mean, we touched it on the first podcast too, but we haven't heard from Dustin. Dustin, I mean, is there any short tracks you want to see? Mitch, same question to you.
one thing I gotta say is I don't know if anybody's heard the announcement, but up here, and I live in Ohio, so kind of around all the sprint car action. But one of the neat things is Mansfield Motor Speedway had the opportunity to go film races for the asphalt track last year. Ran the Craftsman truck stuff way back in the late '90s, early 2000s, and the track sat dormant for 10 years. Well, now they're going to throw dirt on top of the asphalt and make it an actual asphalt, or excuse me, a dirt track, a 4/10 of a mile track, which is actually going to be really neat. and looking forward to seeing that. So if that pans out to be something good, that would definitely be awesome. And of course, a lot of these tracks like Talladega has a dirt track.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that there's racing going on now there, and I think that one track I think I would think would be really cool, and Mitchell probably would agree with me, is the Chili Bowl track.
Yep,
I,
exactly.
I think that would be really cool to be able to race inside the dome and see that, and I think that'd be really really awesome.
Yeah, he
Should
kind of hit it right on the head. I mean, I could only imagine, being in an arena dome, racing. That's just, I think that'd be really something they should look forward to doing. I think, I think it goes on. I think it'll be interesting to see how it all develops track wise. Obviously, they have made some differences. Before the lowest steering ratio you could go is 8-1. Now you can go all the way to 4-1, and we think that's going to be for the dirt. It'll be kind of interesting, but a lot of things that I would like to see is you can see go to all these big tracks like Charlotte, Kentucky. A lot of these other tracks, they have right across the street a massive and beautiful dirt track facility that I think hopefully you'll see that come sooner rather than later.
One thing I do want to point out too, with iRacing and their tracks. Now the great thing is you get tracks when you purchase tracks through iRacing. Um, there's a little Easter egg I don't think a lot of people notice, but because they're so focused on the tracks like Las Vegas has one. There's a few tracks in there that like Irwindale. I know a lot of people know about the Irwindale Figure Eight track, but the inner track as well. A lot of the tracks that they give you, they actually scan the smaller tracks around there, not necessarily the dirt, but the asphalt tracks, which I think is really cool because it offers a lot of diversity. And then most of them were intended for the Legends cars if they wanted to run Legends and make it a good series out of it, run multiple tracks. But I think that's one of the things that iRacing hopefully will go back and look at and say, how many of these bigger NASCAR tracks have dirt tracks around them right by them, like Texas. Texas has Little Texas, which is the dirt track there. Will they make that part of the package? Will and I think from the financials perspective, will they assume it in if you own Texas, or are you going to have to go buy the dirt track? Because the way it is now, like I said, with the Legends cars or Legends tracks, you automatically get those when you buy the bigger track. So hopefully we'll have to see how that'll play out. But definitely a lot of these complementary tracks around these larger tracks would be really awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope that iRacing would give us a free one every now and then, but from a business standpoint, I can see them making us purchase every new dirt car and every new dirt track. So it save up your money, folks. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Have a good 120, 150 in there if you want to just take it all out in one swipe.
it'll
And
definitely be worth it in the end, though. I believe it.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll be interested to see, when they actually get it out, how long it'll take them to get it to where nothing has to be changed. I think one of the things that me and actually Michael Jeans and some of them guys talked about was how many patches are we looking at? Are we looking at an update a week for 2 months to make sure this is right? I think that'll be a really interesting thing too. And another thing is too is as soon as it comes out, a year and a half ago when the Daytona 500 happened for the very first series in the iRacing series, it basically crashed iRacing. So I'll be really interested to see if iRacing servers can handle 7,000 people on, because I know everybody is talking about wanting to do this dirt racing. So I think it'll be really interesting to see the conversion and how long it takes it to get it to perfect running condition, if it ever does get there.
It
uh,
does
you,
for the
you
most part. Go ahead, Jeff.
yeah, I mean, Mitch brings up an interesting point there. Looking back at our Friday night race, heck, last night during both of our racing
Yeah.
events, we had uh, across our servers, across the iRacing servers. I don't know what's been going on, but uh, the little bit of a quality drop. I wouldn't say a little, I'd say a lot. So, you know, dirt itself is going to bring in a great more amount of people to iRacing. You're going to see subscriptions being renewed, new subscriptions. Can their software and hardware handle that influx? It's a good question, and I do agree with what Mitch said, is that we possibly can see that update a week for 2 months. as they patch up the dirt side. So all that is being prepared for, and every eventuality, at least on my part, to struggle through, and still waiting. iRacing, we are still waiting.
One point I was going to bring up that you got to wonder when it finally does come out, what kind of the influx are they going to get from the R Factor community? Because the R Factor community is still one of a viable community dirt racing that people really enjoy, and I know there's going to be a lot of bias right up front from that community towards iRacing and the two to make sure that iRacing is on par, if not better, as the expectations. Because I mean, iRacing talking about their millimeter accuracy and scanning the tracks. You hit a bump in the sim, you hit a bump in real life for the most part. That puts a lot of pressure to make sure you do things not only great but the right way. And for the most part, when you talk about Steve Myers making a lap around the track, my question is, how many times has the guy actually been in a dirt sprint car and made laps? I'm not familiar with that. So is his comment stemming from the fact that he wants the casual driver to be able to race this for the most part? Because I know, like when I first joined iRacing, I actually watched the training videos. They had a little school, like a driving school, you could go through, and you got like points or whatever by watching these different videos on learning how to, how to take a corner, how to find your apex, and how to track out those kind of things. Just generally racing around other people. They have that on there, I believe, still for a lot of the newer drivers to check out. Of course, a lot of it is factored towards road racing, but a lot of the same concepts can apply in oval. So, I mean, it's one thing, the education side of it. There's got to be dirt is its own monster. A lot of your current racing dirt drivers, R factor drivers, and real drivers alike are going to pick it up, no problem. But for the casual driver, for the driver who's never actually raced on dirt, what's the learning curve going to look like, and the early frustrations that they're going to have. So that I don't know what iRacing is doing to try to Q&A that to make sure they get it on par to where that a lot of people, there's going to be people that get out there and be like, this is crap, I can't do this, this is garbage, are they sure this is right, and then have those people that have done it before say, yes, this is right, this is just the nature of the beast, this is what you're going to have to do to be able to get it right. I mean, we see that even on asphalt side.
Yep, great points there, Dustin. So I mean, we all eagerly await the iRacing Dirt, and hopefully we'll see it perfected in the months that follow its release. But another segment here. This is brought to you by RaceGear.com. Link is also in the description to that website. Great articles. Um, you can pick up some racing merchandise there if need be. I know Wes has got stuff there before, but RaceGear.com. So I take a lot of ideas from what they post on Facebook to talk about here during the podcast. The most recent of news beyond tech changes, we saw Carl Edwards announce his retirement after 1 or 2 seasons with Joe Gibbs Racing, and literally 2 months before the 500. Uh, I'm sure someone in here can tell me who the replacement driver is, but it really comes as, I mean, maybe as a shock to people that maybe not close to the guy or don't follow his Twitter feed constantly. So uh, he retires, and he wants to move on to something new and exciting, as he calls it. But is there possibly another reason out there? Safety concerns. I mean, NASCAR is the safest it's been in a while, since probably before the Earnhardt crash. So um, it it's gonna cause a big shakeup in that team with those guys running so well this past season, and I think all their cars made the chase. So you know they got to get their driver in there and continue to operate under that procedure with Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth, and someone go ahead and tell me who the new driver of the 19 will be.
It's
Suarez.
Daniel Suarez from the Xfinity Series. Just came off the championship.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have somebody to replace him, I think from a momentum standpoint, you can't get much better. But I honestly, a lot of people have mixed emotions about it. I think I have a lot of respect for Carl Edwards doing that. One thing, they had about a 30-minute interview with him, or when he announced it. He woke up thinking about racing. He went through the day thinking about racing. He went to sleep thinking about racing, and he dreamed about it. And when you do that for 20 years, some people it'll get old. I don't understand how it will. I don't think I'll ever get bored of it. But then again, he's lived a full life. He's done everything he's wanted to do. But one thing he made very certain is he wouldn't use the R word, which is retirement. I don't think this will be the last time we ever see Carl Edwards. I think he'll be back in a race car, maybe an Xfinity ride here or there. I could definitely see him being the next Jeff Gordon going into the broadcasting side of it. I think he'd be very good at that. I'm sure Dustin Caldwell would love to have him as an announcer. I think it would really work out well. Yeah, I think it'd be great. I'd love to talk to him. But I actually have a lot of respect for Carl Edwards doing that. I'm sure he's taking a lot of scrutiny, being like, why would you leave it at your prime? But then again, you look at, and I hate to say it because he's my favorite driver, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's had concussion issues year after year, and everybody keeps wondering, is he ever going to be able to be the same driver? And we have to wait another season to find that out.
One thing, the playing on that too, exactly. The shock factor definitely was at a high when he decided to retire because it was such a short announcement. Seeing the last couple seasons, watching Jeff Gordon retire, watching Tony Stewart retire, they gave you plenty of time to get well acquainted with it. You went through a whole season with both of them, really building up to that final race, saying, yeah, this is going to be it. And of course, Jeff Gordon comes back and races for Dale Earnhardt Jr. But for the most part, I think it was a shock factor in its own when Junior stepped out and they said, oh, well, we got this concussion thing. It just kind of built up real quick with that. And now that you see Carl Edwards stepping away, a lot of people are like, well, is it an injury thing? Was he scared? What do we got going on? And it takes away from the validity that the guy could just say, you know what, I just don't want to do it anymore. I want to go on and do other things with my life. He's been a very good fitness kind of guy, kind of like Jimmy Johnson, where they both have been hardcore about fitness. So who knows? He may have other things in the works. I mean, Tony Stewart talked about it. He's like, racing's my life. I'm going to still continue to do things. I'll be at the track. Obviously, he's the owner. But you got to wonder and leave a little reserve there for the drivers themselves to be human. To say, I have other aspirations, other goals. This has just been a career. It's no different than a football player, for the most part, retiring to go on and do other things in their life. Some people are like that. They've been appreciative and thankful to have that opportunity, but just find themselves at a different place and time and really want to pursue other opportunities.
Yeah, it's just weird when you see a driver just up and quit it at the end of a season, especially when he was there, the Final Four at Homestead, and we're all gonna remember him as getting dumped on the front stretch on a restart, and that was that was the last season we're gonna ever see out of him. So, I mean, yeah, it's gonna be awkward to not see him, and I'm sure just like everybody else just touch base on, we'll probably hear him in a booth or we'll see him in an Xfinity ride or something, but. Apparently he has better stuff that he wants to do, and he's happy with what he's done in NASCAR.
And talking about retirement, I mean, in 10 years from now, we could see all of these top of the line guys gone. I mean, you look at, who would have thought, in 10 years we might not have a Jimmy Johnson or a Matt Kenseth or a Dale Jr. and
I
Kevin
can't wait
Harvick.
for Jimmy Johnson to be gone
Oh
personally.
yeah,
But
well, I think everybody is. But I mean, it's crazy that 10 years ago these guys were just starting out, and now, gosh, Joey Logano is 25 years old and he's been in Sprint Cup for almost 6 years. That just blows my mind. But you look 10 years down the road, there's going to be a whole new line of drivers coming in, and it's just going to be a whole change. It's kind of exciting to see when that happens and how it'll play out.
That's why you watch the Xfinity series too.
Yeah.
You said names are made here. They're right. You had the old Busch series and things like that, but for anybody out there who really enjoys watching the new Monster series, formerly the Sprint Cup series, really watch the Xfinity, watch the Camping World Trucks, really follow them. And even, if you have a chance, I implore people to go out and watch K&N races in your local area, because, what's really neat is you can go to a track. I know at my home track, and I do this a lot of home tracks, they'll park the cars up on the front stretch and let everybody come out and talk to these younger drivers. And you never know who you're going to be talking to, the future, all-star, the future Jimmy Johnson, the future Dale Earnhardt Jr., really talking to a lot of these future all-stars. I know like Todd Gilliland and some of these other drivers are trying to make names for themselves up in that K&N series, and you just never know. So it's really neat. It could give you more of an intimacy with the sport, being able to get out there and talk. And that's one thing I love about racing too, is that you can get out there and talk to the drivers. Not so much at the higher levels, but I mean, Xfinity, I think Camping World Truck will allow people to come out and talk with drivers, and you'll find very personable people, unlike a lot of other sports.
Yep, it's true. I've gotten to meet a couple Cup drivers that are Cup drivers now that used to be back in the K&N East and West series. Joey Logano, I've watched him race at Irwindale and got to meet him afterwards in the pits at their All-Star race they used to have over there. So, I mean, a lot of these guys are going to come from lower series, and we're going to see them, win championships or fight for championships in the Cup Series one day.
Yeah,
Have that
guys.
built with it. Sorry, Jeff. I was just say you have that built with them going in. A lot of these people who follow the Earnhardts, we're local. We have the ability to see it digitally now and really follow these guys' career paths up into the Monster Series now. And I think it'd be really cool, to find your driver, because we're all going to have to do that. I'm a big Kurt Busch fan, and like you said, Mitchell, I don't know how much longer he's going to be in there. He's older than Kyle, so I imagine the next 5 years he's probably going to call it quits.
So basically, people listening out there on YouTube right now, go out there and support your local tracks when you can, if you can. You never know who you might come into contact with. You might see that future all-star like Dustin went on, but getting back and looking towards the Carl Edwards, even before the announcement of Carl Edwards' retirement, Joe Gibbs Racing, the team itself announced that they were going to field an ARCA car this season. They have strong Xfinity drivers, a good pool of drivers to get from if need be. Obviously, in this situation, it shows, but the ARCA car may have been a prelude to them trying to stretch even deeper into that field and find someone even replaceable as Carl Edwards.
Definitely neat to see. I mean, there's a lot of talent out there, and I think there's a lot of talent that goes unchecked. And to look at a driver's style, the driver's personality. I mean, for JGR to have to replace such an iconic person like Carl Edwards, it's not going to be a small feat. I don't think they're actually really going to replace him. I think you look at some of the guys, like when they, like recently Hendricks with Chase Elliott to take over after Jeff Gordon. I mean, think about the person coming in. For Suarez having the recent success he has, he'll have an opportunity to try to fill the shoes of Carl Edwards, but it's always going to be tough. And I think, for JGR, that's really interesting to take on something like that at a point in time when you're getting so close to the Daytona 500, thinking about going into the 2017 season.
Yeah, it is, and another interesting topic I think Mitch brought up during the course of this conversation. He brought up Dale Jr. and his concussions, and went on to talk about Carl Edwards spot racing maybe if need be, or announcing like Jeff Gordon does, and but Dale Jr. has really battled the concussion syndrome, I guess to say. We've seen it in the National Football League, where it's become the major topic of discussion within that league. All safety concerns have moved towards that. Uh, the NASCAR, I'm sure they have a safety protocol, obviously safety devices, but they they have to be looking maybe into the future like the NFL does, of maybe funding a program the same as the NFL to combat future injuries such as concussion related injuries, and can we see someone as recognized as Dale Earnhardt Jr. Come back from concussions, or is he going to not necessarily fade into obscurity, but fade into the past generation of drivers?
I don't necessarily think that, especially with like a Dale Earnhardt Jr. I think one thing that was very interesting about Junior's cases in both of them, and the main reason I'm a Dale Jr. fan is because Talladega is the capital of Dale Jr. Nation. But um, there was no concussion protocol on Junior both times. The first time, his incident that happened at Talladega, uh, was he just felt weird. He thought there was just something. It just wasn't right after that. And then after his wreck at Michigan this year, I believe it was something to do with he thought it was his sinuses, and he actually went to the doctor and found out that he had a concussion. And the thing that was a red flag to me is that shows obviously if there is a concussion protocol in NASCAR, obviously it's not good enough if not once but twice to the same driver who's already had one, it wasn't caught prior to the diagnosis of his actual doctor.
Yeah, I mean it's something to NASCAR doesn't want to. I know the NFL had the movie made, and Roger Goodell was not a fan of. I can't remember the movie title, but basically it slammed the NFL and getting to the fact that they avoided the concussion talk for long enough. And I don't think iRacing, or not iRacing, but NASCAR itself needs to do that. They don't need that movie made about their executives to where, our most popular driver is now not driving, and we're not making as much money with people in the stands because of it, because we ignored possible new concussion protocols that we could have implemented. So, you know, NASCAR obviously has to take a deeper look into that, not just for Dale Jr.'s sake, but for, if it starts at NASCAR, like in the NFL, if it starts at the NFL, it trickles down. If it starts in NASCAR, it's going to work down to the short tracks, into your local tracks. So they need to tighten up either their protocol or I know they've done stuff with tracks, taking away the grass in the infield at Daytona to get those cars tires some grip before they hit the inside wall. So something further maybe in the future has to be done, and avoid the situation that you know they currently find themselves in with their most popular driver. It, just moving forward into NASCAR itself, they for races such as Pocono and Daytona and Dega, and I think a couple other tracks. They made some rear spoiler changes, so they shaved like almost an inch off the spoiler, so it's gonna create less downforce, I believe, in that situation because they also changed the roof hatch, how it opens when they get turned around, and little changes like that. I'm not quite sure about all the technical aspects behind it. We could see a return to maybe 5, 6 years back of uh, car tandems at super speedways, or uh, they may be trying to get closer racing. I don't know. If someone does know, please enlighten me on the fact.
I know you're always going to have adjustments being made. I mean, that's NASCAR for you. I think it's one of the most fickle sports out there when it comes to policy adjustments that they make. I mean, we've seen it and how much controversy you think it causes just a single season of going here. And, we're going to test this package, we're going to test that package, and different rules along the likes of them adjusting it as the season goes on. It almost makes people really throw their hands up and like, why are they doing this mid-season? And I know NASCAR like tries to, uh, with the Dale Earnhardt Jr. concussion, they were looking at that, talking about what we're having to get people checked out more sooner, and in the middle of the season, and I don't know their decision making and how it comes about, but I think they need to take time in making their decisions rather than being so reactionary all the time before they actually make these policies. So it'll be
Yeah, very
interesting.
proactive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like it is. It's like they're really reactionary. Like when something happens, of course, the Kenseth Logano spout at Martinsville, they started talking about like how are we going to punish drivers here and there. There's just different policies. I think they get really reactionary on, and with the concussions and the doctors things, know, where are they going to be in being proactive to get the warning signs out there to where they can get people in, have them checked out per se. Because I mean, you're talking about a lot of G forces that these guys are undertaking, and when they hit a wall, I know they talk about Dale Senior, but when he hit the wall, it didn't look very detrimental. A lot of the wrecks he's been into in his life, where the car tumbled and rolled a lot, and a lot of other drivers, especially at Talladega. Uh, but they said the G force before they had the Hans device, it was like a 6-story drop, I think is what they said, a 60 feet or 6-story drop. That what the G force on the impact of that wall was like for him, and that's why it was so devastating. It didn't even, and just visually, it didn't look that bad. So, but then it led to them getting the Hans device. But that's where NASCAR needs to do a better job of being proactive, saying what ifs, rather than waiting till something major happens and then go back to the drawing board and try to redesign.
Yeah, definitely more proactive from NASCAR. You got into something there. NASCAR's, the little implement changes, and they're always trying to find something new to do. And I think that takes away from consistent racing. We touched on it in the last podcast about their chase format's designed for short-term success rather than the real racing that happens over 36 weeks of racing. But they're going on about now at looking for television time for midweek races. Is that even viable? Maybe under the lights, or hell, if it's a day race, people are going to be at work and they're not going to be able to tune in.
One thing I'll tell you though, guys, feel free. I know I'm talking my butt off. I'm an announcer. It's what I do.
You're good
But
at it, bro.
one thing I will tell you, one thing that I've heard them talk about is shortening races, only because the younger generation's attention span with everything is getting smaller and smaller. The days of the longer races that they've had in the past, where it was like a whole weekend endeavor. People would show up to go watch races and spend the whole weekend there. Now everybody's just, in and out, bam, 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 boom, and they got to move on, and there's such a rush to do other things. That's to me is not only keeping your fans entertained, but capturing the younger generation and keeping them there. And so maybe a midweek race under the lights, maybe not under the lights, something kind of like. And I think that's why too. Talking about the chase format, they've done that to keep everybody interested. Because if you do strictly on points, a guy can blow out a season, and then there you go, and then the interest is lost. So I think I'm kind of one of the rare people for the chase format, only because it keeps it really like with America football. Playoffs live. My Cowboys just lost tonight. I'm dying inside right now.
Thank goodness.
But, but and it keeps and you see the NCAA football. They've gone to a playoff format because of the BCS points things. Didn't give the opportunity and chances for those drivers who may have had little things happen or teams that had little things happen. So I like the chase format. I think it keeps the luster of the postseason interesting for a lot of drivers. Puts the drivers in a position where, like, yeah, you've done great all season, but it's not over until it's over. You need to drive. And I mean, we've seen that in 2011 between Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart. It came down to that last race because of that format that these guys really had to go. And through ties, then they went back and looked and said, okay, well, Tony Stewart had more victories per se, so then therefore he wins. So I think that if it'd be me, I'd give him like a 10 lap race or something on a short track. That's me, my thought. But for the most part, it's just harnessing the attention span of the younger generation to keep them interested in, and I think that's what NASCAR is trying to explore, I guess.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully NASCAR can figure out. I guess Dustin's right in that aspect that the younger than me generation even is a shorter attention span, and they need shorter laps. Maybe they need to be reached when they're not playing video games on the weekends outside of school. So midweek races, good or bad, who knows? NASCAR's gonna look into that, but we're going to go ahead and say goodnight to our guest here, Dustin Caldwell with Digital Forge Broadcasting, does our Friday night races. Mitchell Reeves with Southeast Motorsports. We thank you both for coming out, joining us this evening. Uh, Great conversations. We hope to see Mitch on the track some more in the upcoming weeks. We'll definitely see Dustin on Friday night. So Any final words from y'all tonight?
Go Bucks.
Just for the viewers, I know there's a lot of guys in watching. Loose Lugnuts has definitely done a lot of great things for just Loose Lugnuts, and also John Hedrick. Everything they've done for Southeast Motorsports, can't thank you guys enough. I'm definitely, me and John had to talk about it last night. Definitely am looking forward to going after Friday night series. I know we're coming to the end of it, but really hoping to get down and dirty with it for the late models, and I'd like to beat Wes, once a year. That'd be kind of cool. So hoping for the best there. But no, just appreciate you guys coming on. But Southeast out.
Yeah,
And
we
if
really
you're looking
appreciate
for
you
a
guys.
great place to race or watch, make sure you check out Loose Lug Nuts for some great race action.
Yeah,
There
I
we
just want to
go.
thank you guys for coming out and wish Mitchell and his team good luck this weekend in their endeavor with the iRacing 24-hour deal too.
Yes, sir.
Yep, and with that, we'll have those final words from Mitch and Dustin. It was quite interesting. Like Dustin said, he's a little bit of a mic hog. He's an announcer, so that's what he does. You'll get used to hearing his voice. He does talk even outside of the broadcast situation a
We
lot.
definitely have good conversations with those guys after a race on a Friday night, Saturday.
Yeah, it's always a good time.
Yeah, I mean, we covered a heck of a lot of topics with those guys, well beyond what I thought we were going to. They had some interesting points. Dustin reverse on what we discussed with the chase format in the last podcast. So, different opinions. I hope it was good looking at the difference with the guys, learning something about our Friday night broadcaster, learning something about a driver for Southeast Motorsports. For our people out there on YouTube, it may have gone on a little bit longer, but it was quite fun, interesting listening to him go over the topics we had scheduled. But we're gonna walk into our wrap up here. Bob, why don't you go ahead and take us through our upcoming schedule?
Well, I mean, like this week, we got practice race on Tuesday for the 24 hours. Thursday, of course, our trucks. Friday night, bump and run with the super late models, and that's going to be well, it's my home track, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I probably won't be there on Saturday because I'll be on the 24-hour deal. But of course, we have our Bush late models and our over-the-top paints Grand National Series. So a lot of great racing over in the Loose Lug Nuts this week coming up.
Yeah, like Bob mentioned, the events we got coming up. We got a team in there for the 24-hour, taking this Tuesday off. So we we're hoping to have a good showing. Mitch mentioned that he had his own team going into the 24 hours. So it's going to be an interesting week. And if our drivers are listening, for those that have participated in the past on Saturday night racing, there will be points awarded for those drivers unable to make that race. So don't worry about your points. We'll get that taken care of. Um, Looking into future events, I'm sure we'll see some stuff on Facebook. Facebook links in the description too, guys. Check it out. Uh, we're looking at some Friday events, Digital Forge Broadcasting. Not some of the stuff he normally does, but it's going to be for a cause, and more info about that will be posted online in the upcoming weeks and even before our next podcast. So that's going to be for Drive for Diabetes Awareness, dfda.info. Link is also in the description. Give them a look. Donate if you can. You know, they have some great tips on there for awareness programs for childhood diabetes. So we always want to make sure our children are safe and taken care of. just some questions you can ask your doctor and whatnot. You got to make sure, guys. Just check out that info. Like I said, donate if you can. Upcoming event races possibly in the near future. But I
I want
did.
to interrupt you real quick, Jeff. I know we didn't plan this out, but I wanted to give away $10 iRacing credits to one of the guys in the chat, guys or gals. I don't know who has iRacing over there, but I know we touched base on the closest finish we had in Loose Lugnuts earlier in the podcast. And if anybody in the chat can name who won that race, beat me at the line, I'm going to give away $10 iRacing credits.
Yeah, we'll wait on that. You heard it there. So if you can guess who beat Wes Holland at the line at Auto Club,
It was this season. This season.
this season at Auto Club, which is now the closest finish in Loose Lug Nuts League history. Uh, Wes will send you $10 iRacing credits to uh, the iRacing if you have it. So
I just wanted to get that out before I wanted to give them a chance to type it in over there on the chat before we close that.
Yeah, I see they're trying, but nobody's right
It,
yet.
it wasn't Donald King. It's not Donald King. It was this season in the Truck Series.
yeah, unfortunately, Donald King has been dethroned from that closest margin of victory. So, if you're watching out there, and if we don't get to it in the next 10 minutes as we wrap up here, you'll have to
I'll
post it.
throw it up on I'll throw it up on the Loose Lug Nuts page and let everybody have a chance at it.
Yeah. So we'll sit here for a little bit and wrap up, but moving on, we're looking, like I said, for our next podcast around the middle of February. I'd say February 19th, 18th, around that date. Gonna be bringing back our usual cast here, and we're going to be bringing a special guest to talk about some of his stuff. The guy from the awareness program I previously mentioned, dfda.info, the Drive for Diabetes Awareness. So it it's gonna be a great show, and we hope to have a loose lug nut driver on besides us three sitting in here. If you want some chance to get in here and talk about some topics about some of the races you were in as we go through during a podcast, get a hold of John. We'll schedule up a time. Uh, Even if you're just a listener, just contact them, see what we got going on. But Bob did touch on our event schedule. Like you said, he also has Dirt Rally on the Steam PC edition, so make sure you get back in there and check that out. It's from what I hear, it's a fun time, and as Brian Tribble would say, if he could get a spotter to shut up for 60 seconds, he would improve by over a minute. So
Yeah, if he could figure out what he was saying, if he could figure out where he was telling them to go, or if he knew where he was supposed to be going, he'd gain a second on the field. So
yeah, a lot of interesting stuff going on out in the league. Uh, Again, we had probably the most since last podcast tune in and watch. I think we got up to 18 guys and girls, sorry, uh, this evening watching. So I thank you for that. I know some of our guys out there and girls. God, I gotta stop saying that, but they're not able to watch the live. It will be uh, retroactive. You can go back and watch it. Go back to your favorite part, or where maybe I just shut up for a long period of time, listen to Dustin talk. So there's that. We got racing content, weekly highlights. John puts some of his stuff on there, the videos he creates. Uh, for our intro this evening. That's its own separate video and its own separate folder. So we got that. You know, and we always try to touch on uh, John and his paints. Myself, Wes, and Bob, all we drive is Over the Top Paints and Designs paint shops. So uh, that link is also in the description. Go check out that Facebook page. There's also tons of other painters. John is by far the best in between all of them, in my opinion. But you know, to each their own. Uh, Go check them out. We'll go ahead and move into Bob and Wes so I can shut up here. Any final thoughts y'all would like to touch on? Anything y'all looking forward to our upcoming season or series ahead?
I'm looking forward to winning some more championships. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to just everything we got coming up on the schedule and getting some better runs together and maybe finishing in front of the 4 for a change.
Yeah, no, this is a great place to be at, and there's just so much stuff that's going on all the time. You have everything to choose from, so I'm always looking forward to whatever you guys got going on next, and looking forward to all these new guys that are going to come on and race with us, and hopefully we'll gain some more guys each and every week or every time we do this podcast. Maybe we can get some more drivers and some more fans checking out the page and just get in here and race with us.
Yep. So more than likely, this the competition there for who won the race will move over to. Oh, never mind. I just saw it. Jay Covington, 84 wins.
I knew somebody would go get it.
Caught me right as I was ending the competition. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and re-thank our sponsors here tonight. We got racegear.com, Over the Top Paints and Designs, The Wise Guys, DFDA.info, that's Drive for Diabetes Awareness. All the links are down in the description. Lugnut TV, obviously. Uh, Check us out. Check them out. We're looking forward to a great upcoming series as we end this one and go into the next one. So uh, we thank all our fans for joining us this evening, and we hope you come out and join us for the next podcast, like I said, and getting over maybe to the broadcasting side as soon as possible.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a cool deal to get out and let people listen to what's going on in the league if they don't follow it, through either racing or through our page. It's a cool deal to just listen to all these guys that actually race and get to see what's going on, talk about it, and let us update you on what's going on.
All right, fellers. Again, my co-hosts tonight were Mr. Bob Wells and Wesley Holland from Loose Lugnut Racing, Loose Lugnut TV, and our guest we had this evening. We thank you for coming out and joining us as we talked and embellished on different topics. We hope to see everyone next time and have a great evening.
Congrats, Jason.
Yes, nice job, Jason.